Hey everyone, welcome to another hot take on impeachment. Sorry, I'm in my robe and my piney hat. I just didn't feel like getting a shower yet. Anyhow, smash like and subscribe before we get into it. Please, if you're a political junkie like me, check out Wokistan, a novel. I think you'll love it. It's very political. It's all full of satire. Link in the description. Now, God, I'm sick of talking about Trump and impeachment. I'm sick of talking about Trump. But he just consumes the news. He can't help himself. He is the news. Everything is Trump. But impeachment. Okay. So nothing much has changed. Again, it's a political process. And you need votes. You need votes to make it happen. It's not really a legal process. They go through the motions of a legal process. They have to find evidence. But what they consider evidence and what they consider real, normally in a court proceedings, that would be up to the judge, and the judge would use precedent, and there would be, reasons why he wouldn't just say, screw this Trump guy, let's send him to jail. Because he wouldn't want to set a precedent, or he wouldn't want to be overruled by another court. This isn't the case. It's not a court system. The court system is the Congress, and it's the Democrats in the House versus the Republicans in the Senate. The Republicans will never, ever kick Trump out of office. You're deluding yourself if you think that's going to happen for a lot of reasons. First off, all this is happening right to an election, so it's pointless. If the Democrats took all this energy and put it into electing a candidate, a viable candidate, they'd have a better shot. Instead, it looks like sour grapes. It really does. I mean, objectively speaking, they're going to try to, first they spent 2.5 years going after him on Russia. Now they're going to go after him for this Ukraine thing, which appears to be nothing. There's no smoking gun. You could argue all day that his conversation with the Ukrainians were quid pro quo. And first off, it's totally hypocritical. What you have to understand about the Ukraine is the Obama administration was meddling in the Ukraine for years. The reason Joe Biden's son was working at the gas company at the Ukraine wasn't just typical graft, I got to give my son a gig. They are trying to control, the United States is trying to control the Ukraine because they're trying to stop a gas pipeline that would go through Russia, the Ukraine, to Europe. They didn't want that to happen. And that's why they got Biden's son at this energy company. That was the whole point. It was the whole point of taking over the Ukraine. I believe it was early in the Obama administration when they had the big switchover. They drove out the Russian-backed leader of the Ukraine. He was considered Russian-backed because what you have to understand about the Ukraine, I'm totally getting into the Ukraine now, I don't know why, but I know a lot about it. I followed it. So, without going too far back in history, during World War II, the Ukrainians hated the Soviets. The Soviets did horrific things to them. They starved millions of people. They hate the Soviets. They hated them. If you were a Ukrainian, and Ukraine people have their own language and culture, you were considered a backwood, country bumpkin, not worthy of a job. It was only Russian-backed speakers who got the jobs and the promotions. The Soviets imported a ton of Russians because they needed to control that whole area, the Crimea, and they wanted to control the main areas in the Ukraine. So that's why the eastern part of the Ukraine is trying to break off from the rest of the Ukraine, because the eastern part is mostly Russian now, because the Soviets forced so many people to live there who are Russian speakers, and most of them identify with the Russian Federation, which is why there's so many problems now. But that's their problem. We shouldn't be involved. But for the Russians, that's a huge problem. That's like, Mexico to them. And they need to have a say in what their neighbors do because, hey, they're the Russians and they're the big dog in that area of the world. So it's no surprise that, yeah, they backed the guy who was the Russian, maybe was a puppet, maybe not, probably was. And he was cutting deals with the Federation. The United States didn't want that, so we pulled our resources to do whatever we could to drive them out. But the thing is, the Ukrainians are full of neo-Nazis. Because, going back to World War II, they hated the Soviets so much, a bunch of Ukrainians aligned themselves with the Nazis to drive the Soviets out. So, the thing is, the neo-Nazis are not good people at all. Either, I should say. I mean, the Russians aren't great, but neo-Nazis, that's really bad. I mean, that's really bad. It'd be different if the Ukrainians sort of gave up that ideology and said, well, you know, that was a dark time in history and we're not going to do that neo-Nazi stuff. We're just anti-Russian. They're not doing that, okay? So that's a real problem. We don't want the new Nazi regime to start flourishing in the Ukraine. And we definitely don't want to be funding it if it happens. But the United States is insisting on funding the Ukraine because they want to play this world chess game of trying to outmaneuver Russia and keep Russia sort of a second world country so it can't compete with the United States. Not really an issue here. I mean, the Russians monetarily are not much of a competitor. Military, they are the closest thing we have to a competitor. But they're not stupid. We outspend them 10-1, and we would crush them. So there's no point in crushing them economically as well, because it's China that we have to worry about economically. Anyhow, getting back to my original thought, impeachment. So, all that stuff, which was most of which was going on in the Obama administration, overthrowing their government, putting in our own puppets, bribing them with $1 billion. That was all going on in the Obama administration. Where was the outrage? No outrage, no talk of impeachment, no talk of quid pro quo. And Biden's tape is pretty damning. I mean, basically it's quid pro quo. Right on the tape, he admits it. He basically tells them, fire this prosecutor or you're not getting your aid. That is quid pro quo. You fire the prosecutor, you get the aid. Quid pro quo. So to put Trump up for the same thing when all he did was have a conversation, and that conversation, I guarantee you, and I said this in my previous video, he already talked to his lawyers and said, I'm going to have this conversation. I'm going to try to get him to do something about Biden. And they all told him, don't do anything quid pro quo. As long as you don't say that, you're fine. And he knew that. So he walked right up to the line and he didn't cross it. So for Congress to nail him for that would be the height of hypocrisy. And the U.S. foreign policy has been all quid pro quo. It has. It's all we do. We go into these countries, we proclaim that we're trying to help the freedom fighters or we're trying to help the government against the evil terrorists, and it's all about which side will allow major American corporations to come in and either exploit resources or sell a bunch of stuff to their locals or both. That's it. That's all the United States does. It's, you know, Trump is not really doing anything different except being open about that. Now, I don't agree with a lot of that. I think we should have a more peaceful world, less military, and open competition, because I think we'd win in that open competition world. I am confident we will win because we are the United States and we invented capitalism, essentially. If we didn't, I guess we didn't invent capitalism. We perfected capitalism, I should say. And we're great at it. We're way better than the Chinese. Because of our freedoms, we can innovate quicker and faster. And I am confident we'll steamroll anyone. But we have to have, a fair playing field. We can't build a ton of resentment with all this foreign policy and all this meddling. And, Trump is not a laissez-faire guy who, is the perfect libertarian or anything, but he at least recognizes, hey, there's too much of this stuff. Let's pull back. Or at the very least, let's be nuanced about it. And he is pretty nuanced about this stuff because all his bloviating in the press is really designed to push people's buttons so he can get the deal he wants. It's not 4D chess. It's common sense. He just uses his resources, to the best of his ability. It's common sense. It's not genius. It's not 4D chess. It doesn't take 4D chess to say, well, I'll get the American public mad at the Chinese, and that'll hurt their bottom line because some people at least will boycott Chinese products, and that'll put more pressure on them. I mean, that's simple math. It's a very simple plan. Will it work? Well, that's another question entirely. It appears to be, the Chinese government is being pressured. Okay? But they always have pressures. It's difficult to read because they are a relatively closed communist society, and you can only get so much information coming out of there, and you got to question its reliability anyway. So, but what we should do is the common sense things. We shouldn't allow, these companies to just kowtow to the communists in China. At the very least, they should have to think twice before doing business here if they're going to try to influence us. So, but getting back to impeachment. Impeachment is not going to work. It's just not. You've already got two Democrats who have kind of defected, which means you've already got some gun-shy Democrats who aren't going to vote for impeachment. They need to be reelected. If you're in a red state or a purple state and you're a Democrat, you're hanging on by the skin of your teeth. You're just hanging on by your fingernails. And if you vote for impeachment, goodbye. Goodbye. You'll be gone. And they know it. And they will absolutely not vote for impeachment. They'll do everything they can to not show up for that vote or have an excuse. Because it's all about being reelected. The Democrats are trying this because they feel that this is their last-ditch effort to gain the presidency and gain power again. Which isn't true, because Trump's going to be gone in 2024. He's going to leave, and you're going to have Pence to worry about. And Pence is a lot easier to beat than Trump. I mean, he just doesn't have... Pence is like a wooden peg. He's not very exciting at all. If Trump is reelected, and I think he will be, Pence is definitely going to be the runner, if he wants it. And, you have a good shot at beating Pence. A good shot if you get a good, credible candidate. Biden is not credible. He's fallen to pieces. Sanders is done. Warren is probably your next best bet if she loses this time. She gets at least another shot at the ring. Hillary needs to be put out the pasture and just set aside and say, go retire, ma'am. And Buttigieg could win. Buttigieg could be, I think people would vote for Buttigieg over Pence. He seems like a nicer guy, more energy. He'd be fun as a president. Pence just looks boring, and, I don't think he can pull off what Trump does. No way. No way. The next Trumpian Republican will be Donald Trump Jr. probably. He'll be next. But that's probably 2028. I don't know. He might run in 2024. I mean, maybe it'll just F Pence and just go right for the jugular. I mean, that would be a Trump move. Like, oh, hey, wait, I'm supposed to run. Nah, you're boring. I mean, Pence was only there because Trump had to cut a deal with the neocons who still held power. So, who knows? But I don't think this... I think, if anything, this impeachment is just... People are going to sour on it. They definitely... Adam Schiff is not great. He just comes off as a Weasley guy. And now they're digging up everything in his past. Nancy Pelosi also... She's got slightly better reputation. She's at least a little more dignified, but people don't particularly like her. All this stuff makes the Democrats incredibly unlikable. And the worst thing they could do would be to impeach Trump. It would literally destroy the party. If they impeached him and kicked him out of office, none of the Trump supporters would accept it. Even if he loses the election, I don't know if the Trump supporters will accept it. And that will make the Democrat coming in, the hostility towards that. You think people are hostile to Trump. It will not compare to the hostility if you manage to unseat Trump for a second term. The hostility to whomever wins will be ridiculous. And you're going to be facing a hostile Senate and a hostile House, and you could forget about getting anything done, and you could pretty much guarantee an impeachment the moment that Democrat steps out of line. They're going to be investigating. They're going to want payback. They did it at Nixon. When Nixon, part of the reason Clinton was impeached was revenge for Nixon. And just give him an opportunity, and they're going to do it. So the whole impeachment thing is all about politics as usual. Again, I urge you, Democrats, urge your representatives to please just stop this and concentrate on policy and getting something done for a change. That's it.